You can talk, just don't swear in the first 30 seconds. That's all. Jesus.
Fuck!
Oh my goodness.
I was
This is
counting
classic.
down. I was counting down to
I
when
think
I
that's
could
you
still
found-
early,
You were
but
way
okay.
late because I
You
just
literally-
heard the first word that was said when it fired up was you screaming that.
Wow.
Sorry, YouTube. All right, we're a mess today. Let's
Hello,
go.
YouTube. Sorry, YouTube.
You know, it's all that monetization that we're so worried about, right?
Well, you know, we're all into podcasting for the money. That's why we do this, right?
Clearly.
So-
Why do
I'm
you
here.
think I do it?
Listen,
Like,
I lost my roommate this summer, so let's get this thing paid. Come on.
But you got now you got this advanced GG merch you're hawking again.
Yeah.
So like, go for it.
Yeah.
This stream is sponsored by Chardmonk.
yeah, I'm paying for everybody's trips.
That is pretty rad, though.
By
It is neat that you go
$14.
shaker, yeah.
No,
It's
that's cool. I'm
fantastic.
pretty proud of that. I'll admit that. That's pretty.
Yeah.
I might pay for the tariff and the shipping to get one. I gotta see how much
Get
my
it.
dollar's worth. I think we're up 2 cents now. It's great.
Let's go. Get it before it really kicks in. Get it while it lasts.
Yeah, get well. last.
Yeah, does it have any of those magnets or precious metals in it? Because
It does.
Okay.
They're all fresh from Ukraine.
Okay.
God.
Who's hosting?
What we talk? Me. Opening line. Opening line. God, I got to trim this video. This what a shit show this one was been. Okay.
4 stiff pillars of RPGs today on.
I'll take it.
Well, more than just the place.
You got to pay attention to the stiff pillars.
Don't flex over the intro.
Four pillars, and Sinistar's stroke today on.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Press B to Cancel, your favorite, and I mean it this week yet again. It's a twofer, your favorite retro video game podcast. This week we've got a great episode. How is it going to be great? How do I know? Because I'm already angry, and they haven't said anything yet. My three co-hosts, not four. Sorry, GP. Wolf, how are you doing this week?
I am good. Tired, but good.
Great.
Been a lot of early days this week and late nights. Strangely enough.
Believe it.
I hear that. Sinistar, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing all right. I almost didn't make it for another podcast, thanks to my local power company. Thanks, Power Company. Sponsored by Power Company.
Colorado Power. So
Colorado. And also sponsored by Chard. Chard, how are you doing this week?
I'm better now. I had a crap day today, but I'll tell you what, the laughter at the beginning of this is just set this weekend in the perfect direction. So I'm great now, guys. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, this week is going to be a great episode. We did one of these kind of episodes I think it was last year. I wanted to make this a regular thing, but it didn't work out that way. But we're going to start now, and I want to do it more than every 6 months. We're going to talk about the 4 pillars of RPGs. We did one on 4 pillars of arcade beat 'em ups. Now we're doing the RPGs, but it's impossible to pick just 4 games for all of RPGs. So we did have some ground rules on how we're going to do this. Number 1, I guess, is that we're looking mostly at turn-based RPGs, right? So your games with turn-based combat, think like Final Fantasy, but also games where there is a timer. Think Dungeons and Dragons, think Baldur's Gate, Neverwinter Nights, where you can pause to issue commands, but there's still very much a turn at play there. So what is not included? Action RPGs. So we're not talking about Diablo this episode. We're not talking about Morrowind or Skyrim, and all those great games too. They're awesome too. Winlivian, yes. I want to talk about those games maybe in another version of this episode, but today we're focusing just on turn-based RPGs. So we're going to go around the group and we're going to just pitch out games, give them their flowers for a minute or two and make a list. And then once we have a list of solid candidates, we're going to determine and break down through what is only our God-given gift at determining what is the best video games, because we know we're great with that. The 4 pillars, the games that when somebody says I've never played an RPG before, where do I start? That's what we're going to give you. Okay. Who wants to start with a pick?
I'll go first.
Don't all volunteer at once now on me.
You can't get us to shut up in the opening, but then when it comes to brass tacks, we can't do nothing.
Gosh.
I
We're just
said I'll
clamming
go first. Hello? Is this on?
Hey, would
Hang on.
you go? Would you go first?
Wow.
All right.
Think Remy
So
wants to
my first pick, I'm gonna let Chard pick the other one. Just I know that's not how this works, but I'm leaving that one to Chard, and I will chime in on that one. First I'm going with Phantasy Star 2. Now,
Oh.
there's a
Okay.
reason I'm picking this. Like I said, I chose everything for a reason. The reason I picked Phantasy Star 2 is because it is one of the early mainline RPGs. It was one of those ones that a lot of people knew about. But also, it was, I want to say it's the first RPG that actually kills off a main playable character.
Huh.
Not
that.
like I'm talking one that's through most of the game, not ones that just cycle in and out. And because there are games that killed playable characters earlier on, but this one was like you get that character early, and you don't
Right.
lose them until the tail end. So it's
Till the end of the
impactful.
game, yeah.
It's not a
Okay.
constant carousel of dying people. Just you join us for a while until you don't make it anymore.
Looking at
you
you,
know.
Final Fantasy IV.
Because I want to say Dragon Quest or no, Final Fantasy 2 did that, I think. And one of the Dragon Quests, I think, did something like that.
Yeah.
But
Well, Phantasy Star 4
yeah,
has
Phantasy
as a
Star
character
2
die that joins and dies, but it's basically the first of the game, beginning of the game, right? It's kind of the same thing, but it's
Yeah.
not. You're right. It's Phantasy Star 2 is the end of the game. Okay,
yeah,
that's an
Phantasy
interesting
Star
pick.
2 was the
Yeah.
first game to pull like an Eris Gainsborough on the players, you know.
Right. Okay.
Oh, he's dropping last names. Damn. Wolf's over here just like, my Acum is insane.
I have a
Anybody else
question for you.
Go ahead.
Well, I have a question for you on this because being that I was a PC RPG player, which will come up later, but since I was a PC RPG player and I've only really actually gotten into the console RPGs recently, thank you, game coming soon in this podcast. What system is this on?
The Genesis.
Genesis. Yeah.
Okay. And for those of us that are not in the US, the Mega Drive.
Yes. So
Okay.
this was the first Phantasy Star on the Genesis / Mega Drive. The first one was on Phantasy Star 1 was on the Master System.
Okay.
I thought they were both. I thought the first two were on the Master System, and then
Nope.
No,
3 and 4
no.
were
Second
on
one's the Genesis. I
Microsoft.
played the
Okay.
second game for the first time, I think, about 8 years ago. It was one of the games I played when I first started streaming on Twitch, actually.
Get your bingo cards.
Oh,
Here
is
comes
he
Wolf.
going to his shelf? Wolf, for the
He's
audio
gonna-
listeners,
he's
Wolf is
going to the
going to his
shelf.
shelf to pull out a copy of Phantasy Star 2, probably still in plastic wrap.
No doubt. Yep. There it is. There she
Bingo.
goes.
Genesis.
Genesis. it's considered one of the great Genesis RPGs. I do like it a fair bit. It's also hard as hell, especially toward the end, and I have some gripes with it. I was going to pick a different Phantasy Star game. I'm glad somebody else is here picking a Genesis RPG because I was worried that the Genesis might get a bit neglected. So, but I think Phantasy Star 2 is a great pick. Did Sinistar or Chard, you guys play this one all the way through? Well, I guess this
I have
you
not
didn't,
played-
you know.
I have not played 2. I played tidbits of 3, and I've played all of 4. I freaking adore 4.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
as most of our pillars and our March Madness kind of games go, you can't have one without the other. So you got to give 2 a little bit of love. You know what I mean? So I'll give you that. I've heard that like 1 has some good stuff and 2 has some good stuff, but it's not entirely all one beautiful package. If you want that, go to 4. 4 takes everything that everybody liked about the other 3 and made it into one really spectacular game. So
Yeah.
that's the one that I played the most on.
I think I'd like to add in mention 4 while we're talking about Phantasy Star because 4 is one of the ones I was gonna mention today. And this is a good argument to pick. I don't think. I mean, there's no way we have both on the 4, right? Oh, is it showing? Wow, are all my scenes busted today? I think they are.
Busted.
There it is.
Hey.
Fixed. There you go.
There
That's
we go.
Phantasy Star 4.
Hey.
It's off center, but you know what?
Yay.
I don't give a fuck this week. I'm
No.
done.
Gorgeous.
Phantasy Star 4. So yes, Phantasy Star
Such a
2
good game.
is a great
Such
pick because a lot of the, like you said, Chard, you can't have one without the other, and a lot of the things that are great in 4 are into. Also, there's a lot of story references in 4 that call back to the for Phantasy Star 1 and 2. Not so much 3 because 3 was dog shit, but 2 is great. I do like 4.
Now, the Fantasy Star series is kind of linear. Yes, it's not like Final Fantasy where it's
Yeah, they're all it's all the same
600 different
universe,
stories.
Right.
but
Okay,
generations apart, like thousands of years of
right,
years
Yeah.
apart.
right, thousands of years. Right. It's in a galaxy far, far away kind of thing. Gotcha.
Same timeline, same existence, just distant from each other. Whereas you know,
Gotcha.
Final Fantasy is more of a
All over the place.
distantly connected anthology.
Yeah.
It's
So-
All over
schizophrenic
the
writers.
It's a little bit of use the Force Gandalf. Star Trek.
Beam me up,
Yeah,
Daddy.
exactly. That's what it
Yeah.
is.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So I'll mention 4 in that real quick. That I like how there's anime cutscenes a little bit in this one. I love the combo attacks. I like the characters a lot. The music is, I've said before,
Banger.
many episodes on this show, epic, and I think
Very
some of the best music you'll find in the 16-bit era, regardless of the console. I love the soundtrack to Phantasy Star 4, and it has some great twists, especially toward the end of the game. It's a good meaty long RPG. And I mean, there's not many great RPGs in the Genesis. I mean, you can count probably in one hand total number of Genesis RPGs. Probably it's very smooth, a very few number. But Phantasy Star 4 is the
Fantasy
one I like the
Star,
most.
Shining Force 2.
Okay.
Pretty much the main
What
ones.
else?
Yeah.
What else
There's
you
like
got?
maybe Landstalker, but that's not a turn-based RPG. But there's not that many. It was always a SNES, right?
Right.
So I'm kind of torn. Phantasy Star 2 though is before this one. Obviously doesn't look as nice. The music is not as good, but you got to give it its flowers for being a game that kind of like changed everything on the console, right? It actually gave you a serious RPG on the Sega Genesis. So I think for now, I would say we put both on the list until we get toward the end. Does that sound okay with everybody?
Sure.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm cool with that.
All right, so I'm gonna do that.
So if we're moving on to our next candidate, I wanna throw a PC wrench in the gear.
Good.
Okay.
Throw that wrench.
I'm gonna start big. Ultima 4. Now I'm throwing out Ultima 4. It is not the first in the series for sure, but I want to point out that really I'm calling out Ultima and Akalabeth as kind of a series, because if you look at like Final Fantasy, what's his name? Shigematsu, the guy that created Final Fantasy, looked at
Nobu Sakaguchi.
that's the one, looked at the work of Richard Garriott and said, I want to make this a thing, right? And so so I mean, if we're looking at the pillars of kind of CRPGs in particular, Ultima and Ultima 4 are kind of your big boys. Now the reason I pick Ultima 4 is because it also changed the landscape. Instead of an RPG where you had the big bad, boss at the end that you had to beat, Richard Garriott actually watched people basically min-max these games and make choices to, that were kind of horrible choices to, either level up or whatever, like in previous games, killing good characters to level up, et cetera, et cetera. And he basically said, screw that. And he made it so that this isn't a huge spoiler. It's kind of laid out at the beginning, but basically you become the all eight virtues. You have to basically master the 8 virtues, which are good virtues. This is the first one where you became the avatar, which continued through the whole series, through the remainder of it. And so, yeah, he basically kind of wanted to take CRPGs, Ultima, etc., and kind of turn them on their head and make it about your choices matter, not so much as defeating an end boss.
Okay.
Yeah, I figured you would bring an Ultima, and I was hopeful you would bring an Ultima because Ultima is one of those franchises I've always wanted to like really dig into, and I never have. I
Same.
played one of them on Super Nintendo, and I played a lot of Ultima Online, which I know is kind of a different beast, but I think it's an evolution of what Ultima 8.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, like it gets its roots from an earlier Ultima, and I knew you would have a better choice on which numbered entry would be the one to go with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you asked me, probably my favorite Ultima as far as like quick playthrough, just, get to the end and enjoy the game, it's probably actually Ultima 3, which is actually like the map is 16 times smaller than Ultima 4's map.
It's usually not a
And-
plus, but it works.
Yeah, well, it makes for
I mean, you're
for a much
backwards,
more
right?
it makes for a much more concise game.
Right.
But you lose out on all of those epic things that Richard Garriott was like, no, I don't want people min-maxing and just going and beating up a dude. And that's the end of the game, right?
Right.
Right.
And
Little
so
more
Ultima 3, if you want to go beat up a boss, Ultima 3 is your game. If you want the complexity and the depth, Ultima 4, 5 and 6 really, but 4 started that they call it the Age of Enlightenment.
Right.
In the games.
I will say for Ultima, in terms of just the world building, right? The world that Richard Garriott built here is really awesome and awe-inspiring. Like this is something that was definitely lovingly crafted, definitely has a very unique quality to it, and it's something that's throughout the entire franchise, right? I'm with Wolf. I played Ultima Online quite a bit. It was my first MMO. I know that's not this. I always want to go back and play these. I did play one that was on the NES. I can't recall which one that was. Certainly not the
I think
way to
that's
play
4.
these games. Is that 4 actually? Okay.
It might have been 4. Yeah.
Is this one where you can pick like, I swear it's like 12 different classes for your characters, different races?
No, in this one there's no. Now, I don't know about the console versions because I know the console versions there were some pretty big translation changes. Not translation. Whatever. Anyway. But
There were 3 of them on the NES.
okay.
Oh, really?
But no, in this one,
Oh.
this actually kind of starts out the very beginning, instead of like a standard kind of 4, 5, and 4 and 5. Oh, okay. Yeah.
3, 4, and 5.
I thought you were just going to
Okay.
say 4, 5, fuck, like we did at the start of the episode, but as you're
How we
counting
counted
down.
off.
P5,
no, there's-
fuck.
Yeah. No, this one actually started kind of a thing that continued through a number of them, where instead of picking a class at the beginning, it actually plays out this whole intro where you go and there's some selection process, whether it's like, and it's something like
tarot cards or
you-
something, or
yeah, but the selection process is basically like you're a lord of the area and you see, a peasant, take food, which is theft, but
Oh.
he's trying to help his family
So like the class creation system that Elder Scrolls often used if you
Yes.
didn't want to just make your own.
yeah,
It's like, I've got some questions for you. Answer these and we'll help you figure things
Yeah.
out.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and basically, it kind of affects you kind of always start with like the same attributes, but it affects like where you start on the valor pieces on the
the
choices.
virtues.
Anyway,
Yeah. Okay.
virtues. Thank you.
Yeah.
Valor is one of the virtues.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a really cool concept, and it continued through at least the Age of Enlightenment games. 5 is great, 6 is epically good to play, but 4 is your starting point, and you can get it, if it still is, you can get it free on GOG.
Nice.
I think
I
I
think
have
I
the
need
whole
something else to
franchise
play.
on GOG at this point.
It wouldn't
Yeah.
surprise
I
me.
rounded it up like a month ago.
You'll probably get a humble bundle with all of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Ultima's a great
no.
pick.
I actually when I see them on sale, I'm like, I got $1.79. I'll get one.
Yeah.
'Cause these are something I
Yeah.
really want to play at some point.
Yeah.
And buying it on GOG, I'm like, I'll be able to play it whenever the hell I want. If Steam ever
Yes.
goes down, I got a library over here with hundreds of hours. I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's also a very non-linear game. Like there is no, like if you go look up walkthroughs, they're like, I don't know, go pick your virtue, So yeah.
Awesome. Okay, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, Ultima is definitely one of the ones that we want on here. And when we said pillars of RPGs, I wanted to make sure it wasn't just JRPGs. There was also Western RPGs as well, and
Yeah.
both turn-based. This one has more tactical combat, which is still turn-based. I think this is a great one to consider for the top 4. So we've added to the list as well. That's a
Yep.
good pick. Chard, how about you? What do you got?
Well, we discussed a bunch of stuff, and I added some things in the Discord. If you were paying attention, I'm going to pivot just slightly because when this one needs to be a flower, at least it needs to be discussed. Everybody's always, we always talk about the same Final Fantasies and this, that, and the other, but I want to throw out the Final Fantasy Killer, the game that was supposed to be the murderer of Final Fantasy, and it was not a Square game. This was from Sony, I believe. We got to talk about Legend of Dragoon. Legend of Dragoon was a PS1 game. With its turn-based RPG. It was, I believe, 1999. So it was early on in the PlayStation 1 catalog. This game was just like, it was one of those, it took what Mario RPG did with combat, where it was an active combat. So you would press in certain combos and buttons to actually do attacks and do different kind of things with the characters. The story in it is fantastic. I love this game, and I thought that the story was really well thought out. Thought the gameplay was super spectacular. It looks good for a PS1 game. I mean, it's got its little polygonies or whatever, but it's still super clean. And this guy needs to be somewhere at least within the discussion of the pillars of RPGs, because we we always beat the horse about the same few that we will
Right.
undoubtedly talk about during this episode, but we don't really bring this one up very often. And I really think that we need to start talking a little bit more about Legend of Dragoon. The music in this game is absolutely killer. The main character is really cool. All the surrounding characters that work with them, and you get to turn into dragons, which is pretty damn cool later
It's a
on
good
in
bullet
life.
point to
This,
have.
I mean, it's the fights, the boss fights in there are really spectacular. They're fun to play. The super secret hidden bosses in there are fun to find and beat. This was a game that really had me glued to the start, and I did 200% of this on retro achievements, and I had an absolute blast playing this game from start to finish. And it's lengthy. I think it's within the, I don't know, the 40-hour range, maybe a little bit higher, which it's no Chrono Trigger short wise, but it's got a lot of gusto. But the story was great, and whenever you thought you were like going to fight the big bad, it turned out to be like just another puppet of another bigger bad later on. And I really like how it built upon that, and how you were hunting this one guy and you fight that one guy early, and you're like, this game can't be over that soon. And then it turns into this, oh, the can of worms is open and the world's going to end, kind of like Spur, like your typical JRPG. But really impressive game. I really like Legend of Dragoon, and I think we need to have that in the discussion outside of what we always have.
This is
Okay.
one that I always wanted to play, and I never got the chance, even though I bought the damn game. And
You
I
got
know
it
that
on that
sounds
wall?
weird.
You got
Is
that
it
on that wall behind
You have a
you?
wall?
I do. I think I can
Yes,
show
he
you
does.
why, actually.
Oh, because it's covered in dust.
Hey guys, I
It's
just
such a
got
good game.
I just got bingo.
You got bingo?
Yeah.
I think you baited him into the bingo, personally. Jake, you ever played this one? Have you played this guy before? I know you were fairly familiar with the PS1. back in the day.
Not really. No, I mean, outside of Final
No?
Fantasy 7 and Tactics and 8, that was it for me. Oh, and Wild
Oh.
Arms, I guess. But no, I never did
Okay.
play this one. I've heard of you guys talk about it. I've heard that when we discuss the best music on the PlayStation, this is always coming up, but I've
Oh, yeah.
never actually sat down to play it.
This soundtrack is rocking. It is really
it?
well done.
Well, when you
Yep.
mentioned it
So-
plays like Mario RPG, I'm almost sold. They're both holding up a
I
copy
think-
of Legend of Dragoon.
No.
Well, I'm going to show you guys something real quick here.
What's
I
greatest
bought
hits?
this brand new,
Oh, it's
and I
missing
was
something.
able to play it when I got home.
It's missing a disc, isn't it?
It's missing disc 1.
Oh, wow. Okay.
What?
It
That's
did
why.
not have it. And by the
What?
time I had gotten home from the Best Buy, I had lost the receipt.
Oh, Jesus. What was his
I
Best Buy? like
scoured my
40 miles?
car, everything. I don't know what
Oh,
happened to the
man.
receipt.
How do you buy a brand
But-
new and it's missing a disc? Is that a thing?
Packing-
Apparently, at least
packing
once.
error. Packing error.
1 out of 3 ain't bad, right? That's probably
Yeah.
what they're saying. Well, you
It's a
got the other
4-disc game,
2.
isn't it?
That's
Yeah.
what happens when you
Well,
get rid of the
the other
Nintendo seal of
4.
quality. Sony does it different.
Yeah, they do.
Maybe you get one. Maybe you get all
Like,
3
you're
discs.
gonna
Maybe
pay
you get one.
greatest hits prices. We're gonna give you greatest hits amounts of game.
Yeah, this is the game that leaves you longing.
Yeah. You want to play the rest of the game? You pay regular price, buddy.
Yeah, please insert disc 1, not 2, not 3 or 4.
And I was so salty about it. I just never picked it up after that. Like I
That's
just
understandable.
haven't
That
had
is
the
definitely
energy.
understandable. Well, now that the pain has subsided, I would highly recommend finding another version of being able to play this game because it's worth the playthrough. It's really fun.
Perhaps one day.
Mayhaps.
All right.
Yeah.
Shall I give
that-
my next game, or anybody have anything
Well-
else to say?
Okay. Are people adding these to the list? Because I'm trying to juggle windows.
Yeah. Have
so-
we heard
Oh.
Jake's?
No, Jake hasn't done
Um,
his yet.
Yeah, his was
Yeah, I
Fantasy
gave
Star
one.
4.
Fantasy Star 4?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
was that
okay.
yours?
Okay.
Oh, you bled it in there. Okay.
Yeah, it was kind of
Snuck it in there.
I picked up on that.
All right.
Okay.
Wolf,
Okay.
go ahead.
Okay, so my next game is Lunar Silver Star for the Sega CD/Mega CD.
Great game.
Can anybody guess why I picked this one?
Because it's a good game.
I don't know, but I've seen a lot of streamers do it.
Yeah, because
Play
of
that.
Galleon.
It's because this was the first RPG to be mostly voice acted.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
There were other games that had some voice acting, but nowhere near the extent of Lunar Silver Star.
Mhm.
And to not just have the voice acting, but also have a really good story on top of that. This was just such a good game. Like,
This game has some really awesome cutscenes too, like the anime style cutscenes that are really well executed and well drawn. This game is really cool.
yeah. I think I've told this story before, but I love telling it. I never actually I had not played it on the Sega CD when it came out for the PlayStation. I bought the PlayStation game, absolutely fell in love with it, and I was so sad that I knew I was coming to the end of it that I bought a Sega CD and Lunar for Sega CD so that I could play it a second time in its original form.
Yeah,
Huh.
this is one that got a remake, I think, that just recently. And I think
Just
the
recently,
criticism
yeah,
I saw
remastered.
was that the voiceover was redone for some reason. Is that what the controversy was? Something like that.
Yeah, I
Something-
think
Yeah,
I
I think
think it's mostly the script from the 1998 release. Is that when
yeah,
it came out?
yeah.
Okay.
They made a few changes, and it's all fresh voice acting. And apparently, the guy playing Galleon, people are not as pleased with.
That's a weird
there is
move
some
to do that.
there's some
yeah.
references. Then there's some 90s references back then
Oh, very.
that would not
see.
translate well today.
Okay.
There's some
Well, I was-
80s references in that game.
Yeah, but
When
it's
you
not, it's
die,
not-
it says it's a dead man's party. Which I mean, I love Oingo Boingo,
right.
but
I get it.
that is so over the head of most people playing this game.
But it's not just that. There are some things that were said in there when I remember playing, going, Can I play this on Twitch? Am I gonna get banned for this?
Are you
Because
gonna
there's
get
some stuff in
canceled?
there that is definitely there's
Okay.
definitely some periodical discussions of things in there and the use
Yeah.
of words that we
Oh, I
no
see.
longer are allowed to use today.
Yeah.
It's funny, but
I was
Great
going to
game.
wonder if it was like residuals that they didn't want to pay.
very possible. Could be that too.
Yeah. Actually, there's a middle of a voice acting strike right now, so that could be a thing too. It wouldn't
Yeah.
surprise me. This is one I always wanted to play. When I was a kid, I had a Genesis. I always wanted a Sega CD. I don't know why, but I thought Sewer Shark was the greatest thing I saw in commercials. Playing that now, I was better off not having one. But Lunar is always one I always want to go back and play. It always looked great. The cutscenes always got my attention. Another game with fantastic music. There's a theme here with the music. But I never
Yeah.
did go back and play this one. I was debating the remake, but I think if I were to play it, I might just play this on the Steam Deck, the original. So, but yeah, definitely one that people are always saying is one of the best RPGs of all time. So I think that's a good pick.
When you I would argue that getting the remake would be beneficial because you get both the games in the remake. So
This is true. I would also argue that playing the PlayStation re-releases over the Sega CD/Mega CD games is probably better for quality of life purposes.
yes.
Okay.
I know I'm leaning on the Sega CD one because it came first. Like, there's
Right.
no Silver Star Story complete without Silver Star. So
Right.
I think it deserves that call out. But if you're gonna go back and play them, Silver Star Story complete for sure.
Agreed.
Okay.
That's the one I think I played was the PlayStation one, and it's clean. It looks really clean. It's really crisp. The cutscenes now are a little blurry, but with the remaster, they cleaned up all the cutscenes. It looks smooth and beautiful, and it's really well done. And the story's great. It's It's a long game. It's an RPG. It's a JRPG. It's definitely got a lot of length to it, but it's certainly worth the playthrough for sure.
Okay. All right. Awesome
sure.
pick.
The villain in it is Galleon's
Is
dope.
good?
He's such a cool
Okay.
character. Yeah.
Sinister, let's do yours. Let's go with your pick.
Okay. Well, I don't think anybody's going to be surprised.
Had
For
to be there
those
somewhere.
listening to the podcast, I'm holding up the box for Bard's Tale, the original Bard's Tale, Tales from the Unknown. Once again, if you look at basically any list of CRPGs, Commodore 64, Apple II, PC, DOS, PC, etc., Bard's Tale makes nearly every list. It is. It's funny because I always look at like Final Fantasy and those, and I'm like, I don't know why I like the turn base on Bard's Tale better than the turn base on like Final Fantasy, because it's the same. It really is the same. It's just it reads differently and it views differently, right?
Yeah.
So
it's same mechanics, different presentation.
yeah. One thing that I absolutely loved about it is you basically get to create your party of characters. And so, there are some suggestions, but you can do it however you want. Each character has genuine different strengths and weaknesses. Certain tiers of positions can be attacked, can either be ranged or melee range. So you always put your mages in the back, handful, et cetera, et cetera. So, this one, unlike Ultima 4, is really a straightforward, I got to go defeat guy X, I got to go defeat guy Y, and then I'm going to go kill guy Z. And that's, the end of the game. So, but I absolutely adore this game. It is really kind of one of those, D&D has been translated into a video game form.
Right.
So, in fact, funny enough, I think between this and Bard's Tale 2, they ended up changing, I think one of the classes in Bard's Tale 1 was hobbits.
Can't
And
do
they
that
ended up
now.
having to change they had to change it to halflings.
Yeah.
So
Hasbro
Yeah.
lawyers come after you. They're like up there with Nintendo
Yeah.
lawyers. Yeah,
Right.
this is a good pick. I mean, I know you talk about Bard's Tale all the time. This is one of your favorite games. You mentioned how you play it. I
Yeah.
think every year you go back and you play it with your brother. Like
pretty much.
hard to deny that this is one of the best ones, right? And again, this is great
Yeah.
to have the Western influence on our list. I think that's a good pick.
And part of it is, I don't know how much you guys dealt with this on console, but one of the things I absolutely loved doing was every single dungeon is on, I think it's a 16 by 16 grid, and you would map these out because there are portions where it was like, it would, turn off your light, whether it was magic or not. It would have spinners, it would have teleports, it would have these, that, and the other, and you would have to map out these dungeons. And I absolutely love sitting down with my brother and my cousins and all of that and going through and just trying to map the dungeon. And eventually you get to a point where you're like, wait, why does this leg have like 18 instead of 16? Oh, we got teleported at some point. So you have to go back and figure out where that was, that sort of thing. So it's old school hard. And that's part of that
Sure.
old school hard.
Yeah.
Old school
That's the thing.
charm.
A lot of the
Old
old
school hard
RPGs,
is
especially the
old
Western
charm.
ones, were brutally difficult. Like they're really
Right.
good.
Right.
Yeah, I don't have on my list for today, but if you want to play a brutal game, Wizardry.
Yeah.
That was one I was debating.
I've heard Wizardry
Yeah.
is tough for sure.
Okay. Let me go next because I got the video pulled up, and I'm going to do that real quick. My pick, I'm going with Arcanum. And maybe it won't be the top. Maybe it won't be one of the four pillars, but Arcanum is one of my favorite CRPGs I ever played, and a lot of the other
It's
ones
great.
I've played in my lifetime are because of Arcanum and how much I enjoyed it. I want to say it had some people from the Fallout team do this one. I could be wrong though. I know it was Troika and it was on Sierra. It was published by Sierra. It's a team long since dead. We will never get a sequel to this game, and that makes me sad. The reason I like it is it was a turn-based RPG. It was real time, but you could pause to issue commands. I played it through almost entirely paused issuing commands, when you're playing real time, it was a little bit janky, and that's probably why it doesn't meet the 4. But I have to call this game out because so few people I know have played through it all the way. The sheer amount of options and character creation is insane. It's steampunk with magic, so you can entirely go a steampunky route and have inventions and grenades of various kinds, guns, handguns, rifles, shotguns. You can do powered armor, steam tech armor, all these options for your character, or you can flip it and do magic. And there's multiple schools of magic, from summoning to buffs to shields. Like I had one build where I was an ogre who summoned think of Juggernaut style energy field like of power, and he was a beefcake and just plow through things, taking no damage. It was awesome to play as that. Plus, it's like the typical Fallout style stats, so you can play a low intelligence run, which had unique dialogue all the way through. That was always interesting. You do a quest with the low intelligence character, and you do it for basically a shiny potion, whereas if you had a regular character, you get more. Anyway, I love the extra dialogue options in this game. And it was great because you want to play evil, there's a path for that. Good, path for that. You want to bargain with the final boss, you can do that too. Not many games have that these days, but it used to be a thing in CRPGs, or at least the ones I liked, where you didn't always have to fight bosses. You could actually talk your way out of things. Charisma and persuasion were a thing, and this game has it. Just tons and tons of cool stuff. And again, we'll never get another one of these, and it bums me out. I wish it'd be a spiritual successor. I haven't seen anything quite like it. The melding of Steam tech with magic in a tactical RPG. And I've always been waiting for it. I know that the folks who did Wasteland, we ended up getting Pillars of the Eternity, which feels close, but that is still more of a magic-based world than this. So anyway, Arcanum is my pick. I think who's played this one? Sinister looks like you might have played this one.
Yeah. I've never played through it, but you're absolutely right. This is, and I'm glad you're bringing this up. I wanted to talk about this really quick. I'm glad you're bringing this up because I would absolutely love to throw on this list the Baldur's Gate or Icewind Dale, or those isometrics that are technically turn-based, but if you don't pause the game, the turns just roll. And so it's one of those where you brought up, you pause it, you give your characters their commands, you unpause it, you let things play out, you pause it, you give your character. And so it is really, truly turn-based. I love it. There is a whole slew of these isometric games. I'm not even talking about isometrics today. I should be. And so I'm glad you brought this up.
Okay. Yeah, the other one I think... Oh, go ahead, Wolf.
I was going to say, I've also played about 6 to 8 hours of this. Unfortunately, my hard drive died at that point, and I never had the guts to go back and do it all again. But what I did play was really, really cool. Everything you described was what I was interested in the first place and why I jumped on it.
Yeah. There was one character in the game that you interact, it's a quest giver, I guess. You speak with him, he seems like a really great old man and all this good stuff, and then you do a quest for them, and then if you say the wrong thing to him, because he's rich old white guy, and then all of a sudden he turns on you and basically calls you a peasant and threatens to beat you with an inch of your life type of dialogue. The dialogue was so good in this. Like, it really is epic.
Yeah.
And a lot of great characters in this. The graphics, not the greatest, but it's from its time, right? But I really do enjoy the character work in this. If you're not going to bring up Baldur's Gate 2, I don't have video for it, but I am going to shut it out as something we put on the list, because I don't think if we don't mention Baldur's Gate 2 as one of the best RPGs of all time, somebody's going to get upset.
I mean, Baldur's Gate 2, and Icewind Dale all really need to be on this list, and I don't think we're going to end up talking about them.
Yeah. Like, I'll say for Baldur's Gate 2, I never did finish it. I have a real hard time with second ed, I guess, D&D, especially the games. I find them really difficult. The first game was impossible for me to get started with. The second game is much better because you start at a higher level. But I do dig it. John Icarus as a bad guy, epic. It was voiced by the late David Warner, I think his name was. Just an epic villain and actor. Like, just really great. For a game that is top-down, like isometric view, and you barely see the characters you're talking to, but having that epic voice cast is so good. I mean, I don't think there's any gamer in their 40s who's not heard Minsk and Boo. And the line, "Go for the eyes, Boo! Go for the eyes!" Like, that is iconic, right? Even in Baldur's Gate 3, right? When they mentioned Baldur's Gate 3, they brought Minsk back. you know he's going to have the hamster, and it's because of this game. So,
Well, and if you played the tabletop, you also know Boo for sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So-
it's the Baldur's Gate games are more games that I wanted to play and never did, except for the I played the PS2 one, which I know is a very different game.
Okay. Dark Alliance and Dark Alliance 2
Yeah,
are
I've played through both of
epically
those, and I know those are
epically
not
fun.
turn-based.
Yeah, but they are epically good.
Oh, very
They're
much so.
epically good. As is D&D Heroes, which is on the Xbox. It's very similar.
interesting.
Anyway,
Okay.
those are action RPGs. Maybe
Yeah.
when we talk
maybe
action
another
RPGs.
episode. Yeah, I wouldn't mind checking those out. Okay,
Yeah.
so
You guys removed action RPG, so I wouldn't gush about any Dark Souls games. I see what's going on. I know.
yeah, but also Morrowind and Skylivian.
Skyblivion.
Skyblivian, yeah. No, but I mean, there's a whole episode to talk about those, and so we'll get to it.
Yeah.
Is there any outliers that you guys have that we want to add to this list? I'll add Dragon Warrior if nobody else has a Dragon Quest game they want to
I'd be
mention.
down with Dragon Warrior. I love Dragon Warrior. The first
original?
one is
Yeah.
awesome.
Breath
I love
of Fire. Breath of
Breath
Fire.
of Fire. I mean, we mentioned Shining Force 2. That I
Mhm.
feel like that needs to be thrown in there. I'm not a tactical RPG guy, and I even like
If
Shining
there's
Force 2.
if we're talking isometrics, I only touched the surface. SSI had I don't know how many isometrics. I don't know, probably 30 different isometrics. And even some of them were like in the future. Like there were a couple Buck Rogers games that were
Oh, really?
awesome. Oh yeah.
Oh, interesting. That would be fun to go back to. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
they are Buck Rogers isometric RPGs.
Okay. For me in Dragon Warrior, I mean, that's one of it might be the first RPG I've ever played, and I got it free from Nintendo Power. So if anybody's in my age bracket and had Nintendo Power, you got a free game, which they don't do that anymore. So it was that in the original
Well,
Final
without
Fantasy.
Nintendo coming after you.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. So Dragon Warrior, the original is great. I do struggle with the newer ones. I know people love that franchise. It's the franchise where people in Japan, I think it's a holiday when they take it off work to play the new ones when they come out every generation. I know that, and for some people, Dragon Quest games are more revered than Final Fantasy. So we got to mention at least one of those games.
Yeah, Curse of the or whatever the Curse King is.
Dragon Quest 8.
Yeah,
Right.
is so good. So good.
I've heard nothing but good things about Dragon Quest 8.
Same. I've had it
3
since
too.
it came out. Damn it.
I mean, they
Never
just
played
did the HD remaster of 3 a couple months ago, like half
2 and
a
3.
year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, I still got the PS2 game up there somewhere.
this guy.
Nice. All right.
Don't send it back to the shelf. All right. So now,
Are we back around?
yeah,
more?
I think I
One
lost
more
track
each?
of who's next. So
I'm
lay
next.
out the
I
next
haven't
one.
done my
Sorry.
second one.
Maybe do the big
So,
heavy hitters.
You want me to do the heavy hitter? All right. Well,
Yeah.
one of the heavy hitters. Okay. Yeah. Okay, guys. There's no contest. You know that I'm going to die on 2 hills. There's 2 hills I'm dying on. I'm wearing one of the shirts right now, which we'll get into, but I cannot go without mentioning Final Fantasy VI. I'm sorry. This game is one of the greatest RPGs ever. Music, characters, story, everything about this game is fantastic. You can tell me how cool it is that the boss wins and all this other shit. It doesn't matter. I was listening to the soundtrack today to get ready for this particular episode. It is bar none one of the top 2 RPGs that was ever created. And I freaking love this game, and as does 98% of the Western continents love this game too. There's very few people out there that have anything bad to say about it. Unfortunately, we know like 5 of them. But this game is so good. It's I could just sit and listen to the soundtrack for hours, and just takes me back to the first time I played this game, and all the different. And Jake, you were talking about steampunk and that game, the Arcanium game.
Mhm.
This had that here too. You had magical machines. You had weaponized machines that ran on power. You had these really cool sprites that were
The very
that were
first
espers.
the very first scene is people in mechs.
Yeah,
very
and an
first
epic
scene,
soundtrack
the
when it happens too. Like, it's great.
exactly the opening scene to this game of the you've got the mode 7 spin around and you're walking behind the mechs as they enter Narsh, and it just makes your hair stand up on your arms because it is so good. And it's still, I've beaten this game hundreds of times, and I don't care how many times I hear Omen on the soundtrack of that CD, it still gives me chills because it is so well written. This game, bar none, is freaking amazing and very nice. I like that. But no, Final Fantasy VI is definitely freaking on there. I am. I can't. I would not sleep well at night if this didn't at least get some kind of recognition. And I know 90% of you guys have either watched it or played it. Wolf just played it for Sophie, I believe, last year.
Well, beat it.
Yeah, you beat it. Exactly. Well, fine,
It's my
you
third
finished it.
run
But-
through the game, but it's the
Yeah,
first
if
time I
you-
beat it.
If you want to
But
talk
it's-
about
Oh.
Sisyphean candidates, and I know we're going to get to another here in a minute that I had the same problem with, I have played the beginning of 6 like 20 times.
So good.
It's so
It
good
is
to get
so
into it
good.
though. But it's
So good.
it's a trip. It's long. It's a commitment, right? And that's hard these days, right? To play a game that is going to
Yeah,
take you 70, 80 hours to finish all the way through. But I love this game. But it's like I'm worried if I play it today, I would bounce off it because I just don't have the time like I used to, and I'm worried that the combat would not hold up
Fast
for me.
forward.
But I do love that game quite a bit.
So good.
Anyway.
So freaking good.
Yeah,
Okay.
I wanted to play this. Every time I've tried to play this, I've tried to spin it up on the Mister, which does not have fast forward. I should spin it up on something else that has fast forward.
Why would you fast forward? There's nothing to fast forward. Everything is so good.
But
So
the combat can be grindy because sometimes you want your grinding
me.
battles, and that can be tedious. And
Yeah.
but that's the genre, I guess, right?
That's mostly what I used fast forward for in the game was that. But yeah.
Well, if you're walking around the Veldt, you can only take the Veldt music so long before you're like,
Right.
okay, 5
Yeah.
battles, man. I think I'm over the Veldt. Can we please get to the Sunken Cave or wherever the hell we need to go?
Okay.
Shiny,
Final
shiny.
Fantasy- Final Fantasy 6 has to be on the list for sure. Do we want to mention the
Um,
other one? The other one that we're all going to mention, which is Chrono Trigger?
Yeah, because I think 100% of us on this are going to agree with this one.
It's going to be a
Yeah,
pillar. It's a pillar by itself. If anything, it's the
yeah.
foundation for all the other games we talked about today.
Well-
The reason I wanted to, so like I said, I chose like a deliberate reason for each of the games. And for Chrono Trigger, it was so many reasons. Like, it was so much more accessible as an RPG than most were at the time. It had the replayability, particularly for such a linear game.
Right.
Because usually you only have that had that kind of replayability in games like Ultima or Fallout or something that was a little less linear, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it had it again had an issue where a major character dies, right?
A major character.
It let you obtain a secret character. It had a secret
Mhm.
character.
Yeah.
And then it had all these optional side quests that you absolutely did not have to do. It doesn't take away from the game to not do them. It only adds to the game to do them.
Right.
And they were good. Yeah,
it
there
had
was not
so
one
many
bad side
endings.
quest. Yeah.
So
Exactly,
like
right.
it had a lot of reasons to be on this list.
There's a game out right now that I'm playing currently that I have said, I've only said this with a few RPGs, and we'll talk about that one here in a future episode, another retro game that we need to talk about. But I haven't even finished the game yet, but I'm loving it so much that I want to start it over. And Chrono Trigger did that exact thing to me when I was like halfway through it. I was like, I want to play this again now. And I haven't even finished it yet. This game could completely drop out at the bottom and completely disappoint me 30 minutes towards the end. I don't care. Where I'm at right now, I will fucking start a new save. I will play this thing again over and over and over again. And this is another game that I've played over and over and over again. I've never done anything outside of this game that doesn't involve doing the extra stuff, because it does, like Wolf said, and Jake, it doesn't take away anything, but it's just one of those games like I don't want to stop. And it's 30 minutes. I mean, 30 minutes. It's 30 hours long. It's 35 hours long.
Yeah.
which is just like the game I'm currently playing. It's just the right amount of time to play a very in-depth and a fantastically written RPG that honors your time as a person. And as all of us as adults in our 40s and close to 50s, we all work 80,000-hour jobs. We have families and children we take care of. We don't have time to sit down and play Persona 5 that's gets really good in 113 hours, right? This
It's a good
game
intro.
honors, right? I mean, it does, right? This game honors your time and your
Yeah.
place in life, and I love that about this game. There's no game out there that I find hard to beat that is Chrono Trigger. This game is just perfectly well written.
There is one hockey stick. There is one hockey stick in Chrono
Oh,
Trigger.
the Gollum twins.
Yes.
Twins.
Yes.
There are two of us.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, that boss is ass for sure.
I absolutely now I'm gonna throw this out there because I'm gonna call out Chrono Trigger for if you played through Chrono Trigger and did not do the character side quests, you probably wouldn't like it nearly as well.
Okay.
Those
true.
character side quests, that honestly made the game for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Fucking frog side quests, dear
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Oh,
You want to
dude,
talking
Lucas-
about
They're-
an
the
emotional
side
roller
with their
quests,
mother.
like-
It's crazy.
Yeah. Even
I
the
was so
Robo
used
Mother
to
Brain stuff.
I was so used to side quests just being like, you know,
Yeah.
go do this thing, add an hour or two to the gameplay. Not
Right.
go do this thing that just lore dumps on you while you
Yeah.
have a great time and learn so much more about this character or two.
Yeah.
Right.
No, if
Right.
you did the disservice of being like, I'm just going to play through the main game and be done with it, you may be like, I don't know what's so awesome about
Yeah.
Chrono Trigger.
Right.
But if you do those side quests, and especially, well, Frog and Robo,
Yeah.
dear God,
Yeah.
Yeah.
get
mean-
your goddamn Kleenexes out.
I mean, 90% of this podcast we're all lore junkies. We love
Yeah.
our lore. We love the story of the world that is being created around us and our characters. And if you're going to deliver it in that kind of a package, like Wolf said, that's both entertaining and just filling you up with all this information about these people.
Yeah. It,
I haven't seen it done better than that lately.
it rewards you with great items and great story.
Yeah, absolutely. That's some Dark Souls-esque lore right there.
Okay.
Yep.
Is there anything else we're missing from this list?
I'd throw
my
Final
last pick-
Fantasy X in there, but Jake would poo-poo that real fast, even though it's one of the best and first voice-acted Final Fantasy games.
Maybe not 10,
my-
but what about 7?
My last pick was going to be Suikoden because of the character collection.
Hell
Okay.
yeah. Suikoden, definitely.
And my last pick was going to be Eye of the Beholder, which if you ever look at a list of like, 90s CRPGs, the top probably 10, Eye of the Beholder is in every single list.
Yep.
D&D rules. It is second edition or AD D&D. Sorry, Jake, but it's
No,
one of those.
It's me.
Where,
It's more than anything else. It's nothing against the game. I just can't get into
Yeah.
the system.
So
No,
we
it's cool.
coded.
Look, for the audio listeners, I can't spell Suikoden. I'm sorry. I'm Canadian. There's no U's in there.
You're not going to throw Final Fantasy X in there, man? Come on.
What?
Come on.
Do you really think that's
Yes.
really?
Absolutely. Yes, 100%.
What
All
about
the
8? You want to
extra
put 8 in
additive
there?
shit that they
While we're
added
adding
in
Final
that
Fantasy
game
games that suck, do we
aren't
want to put 8?
even- Listen, that game has so much depth into it that you don't even know, that's so deep on the surface that you could just glaze over and have no idea what you're doing. The dark aeons, penance, all that extra stuff, you can just easily say peace out. I don't want to do that. But then
Yeah, I
adding
glazed
that
over. My
extra
eyes
in,
glazed over and I fell asleep. That's
Well,
fine. You add to the list.
you
That's
don't
okay.
like RPGs. I don't even know why you're in this episode
I don't.
with us. You
it's
hate
true.
this game.
But- okay, fine. But 7. Final Fantasy 7. Are we not going to put Final Fantasy 7 on this list?
No, everybody talks about 7. 7's
Okay.
boring. Boring.
Seven's a great game, but I think that 7 builds itself on the back of other games.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd put 9 in there before I put 7 in there, personally. That's me.
Really? Gosh.
7 is, and I'm saying this. I am saying this. 7 is the only Final Fantasy game I have ever completed.
Listen, I can
And
be
I will-
overruled here. If one, if
and
you
I
guys
will
wanna-
say-
if 3 of you like 7, throw it in. I'm fine.
No, I don't think 7 deserves to be on the list. I think it does
Thank
a
you,
lot of what 6 did first, just in
Thank you.
3D.
Thank
Well,
you.
especially
I
now that
do
it's 3
think-
games.
Right. I do think 10 was the first entry of the Final Fantasy series that really led it into the direction it's gone since. Because 9 was still very much like the Super Nintendo games, right?
Is a
Yeah.
callback,
10
yeah.
is where they changed the formula huge, and it's been following that route ever since.
All right. Okay.
And you can
so
love it or hate it because it's definitely not in the direction that it started.
right.
But I still think 10 is pivotal.
Okay.
personally.
I'm gonna add in real quick Fire Emblem as a franchise. I'm not gonna put
Oh,
one
yeah.
down. I know
Okay.
people love that franchise. I always lean more towards Shining Force and Shining Force 2 myself, but I have to recognize, especially because I put Camilla in the freaking thumbnail for reasons. But I mean, I know it because I played the hell out of the the Fire Emblem mobile game actually, and that's also a turn-based game. But I'm not going to put that on here. But
So,
that's the franchise.
We're calling Dragon Warrior, and Dragon Quest, right?
Yes.
It's
the
the
same thing.
first one.
Yeah.
You're right. I mean, it's Dragon Warrior, but the first one was called Warrior here, and it's obviously the Quest franchise. I mean, I
Yeah.
played the
They weren't
original.
called Quest here until 8.
Oh, really?
Right.
So it's okay.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
Warrior all the way through, I think.
Okay.
Okay,
Anything
'cause,
else we
I
think we need to
mean-
consider, game wise?
Mystic Quest? You want to throw Mystic Quest on there?
I mean,
I mean, might as
Final
well- if we're
Fantasy.
gonna get crazy, we'll put Mario RPG on there too. If you want to get to the game
No,
that
we're
we all
not.
enjoy.
Mystic Quest
That-
should
no,
be on the
that
list.
needs
I'm
to be-
sorry.
The
Look-
only reason that's going to be on there is so we can throw it away later.
Look,
It's
I love
trash.
Mystic Quest, but like we've already got Final Fantasies, and that's Final Fantasy Light.
Yeah.
It is Final Fantasy.
So, and that's why I get to the topic. So now we need to decide the 4 pillars, and it doesn't need to be the best RPGs. It just needs to be the ones where if somebody comes to our planet from a distant universe and says, "What the heck is an RPG?" we're like, "Play these 4 and you're good." I don't think we need more than one Final Fantasy on this list. I don't think we need more.
No, you're right.
You
I
know,
agree.
so we need to be fair with it. So how do we want to? Do we want to divide this up? Like, do we really think Final Fantasy 6 and Chrono Trigger on the 4, or just one of them, for example?
If you had to choose between the two, okay. So if someone's coming from outer space and says, "Please show me an RPG," I would give them Chrono Trigger because it respects the time, it gets to the point, and it gives you a badass story all the way through. Great soundtrack. It has everything that 6 has, but it's almost minimized enough to be digestible on a first playthrough. 6 is a lot of shit to take in. And for a
Now
lot
I
of-
love Chrono Trigger being on a pillar. I'm here with you, but for everything you just described, we have a glaring missing entry.
what, Dark Wizard for Sega CD?
Earthbound.
Oh,
See?
fucking Earthbound needs to be on there.
Are you
Absolutely.
sure?
Good job, Star. Yes.
It for everything that Char just described.
Yes. I would take 10 out and put Earthbound in. If I had to remove one to add one, I would take 10 out to put Earthbound in.
Well, the list we don't
Fuzzy
remove
fucking
anything. That's
pickles.
just a list.
What's Wolf? Wolf, what do you got? What do you got, Wolf?
You
I've
hate
never
me?
played Earthbound.
You
Okay.
are missing out.
So
I've
good.
played it for about an hour, and it
That's
didn't
okay.
pull me in that time,
Same.
and I've never
It's fair.
gone back.
Fine. Sinistar and I we'll be waving our fuzzy pickles.
You know what?
around. That-
I'm throwing it on the list, but I'm willing to say Chrono Trigger could hold that pillar.
Easily.
Yeah,
But
I would agree with a pillar being for
Hmm.
Chrono Trigger for sure.
Mhm.
Okay.
And that
Um,
when I say that though, like Earthbound would be like sitting on that pillar below Chrono Trigger. Like, no, for everything that he said, like
Yeah,
it is
I get it.
bite-sized. It is, I mean, the progression is fantastic through the whole thing. There's no Gollum twins.
Oh, okay. Do we want to consider a Pokemon game for a pillar? How do you guys feel about that? Again, not the best
it-
RPGs, but as
So we
the
could have had
4
character collection first.
Thank you. Save us, Wolf. Save
Really?
us for the Pokemon.
You don't want a Pokemon? You don't really? Pokemon
Listen,
Red? I
Leaf
don't know.
Green was good. Well, Leaf Green, Fire Red was all right. It was decent,
Okay.
but I mean, it's just I don't know. Maybe I'm so it's just played out.
I honestly, I absolutely adored Pokemon Red and Blue. I've never gotten into another one since. Like,
Yeah.
not nearly the same way. And I tried again right away with what was the follow up? Gold and Silver? I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it with Gold and Silver. I tried going back with I got Leaf Green. Even that didn't pull me in as well as Blue. I tried Pearl, Diamond and Pearl. I didn't
Wolf
finish
tried.
it. I got bored.
I played Fire Red and
And
was like, I'm good. I'm happy.
What
with
was
this.
what was the one that I played recently? The Switch one that was 3D before Violet and Scarlet.
Arceus?
Sword and Shield.
Arceus.
Arceus?
Oh, Arceus, but it is more of a real time one, isn't it? It's a bit different format. Yeah.
And
Sword and Shield
that's
was
the first
classic
Pokemon. That's the first Pokemon game I've beaten since Blue.
Okay.
So it's
Yeah,
I
fair.
I think
I
it's
played
something for when you're I don't know. I feel like it's something that's allowed that you have to have the opportunity to have something that's a huge time sink to play. And
I played
isn't super lore heavy. And I know that can be contested, but
I played Pokemon Go. I don't see what the big deal is.
Yeah, like I'll say Red and Fire Red it was a great remake. I think Fire Red is great.
I like Fire.
Gold on the original Game Boy was too much like Red and Blue for me to like it. I will say Sword and Shield bored the
wasn't
fuck out
enough
of me.
like Red and Blue for me to like it.
No,
To be fair,
Sun and
Pokemon
Moon was
should've
actually
just
pretty
made-
good on the 3DS.
they should have made Pokemon Spectrum and have all of them, because it doesn't, the way that they broke those up, it was just like it was the same game, but they have different generation of Pokemon, but it was the same damn game.
There's
for like 5
differences
games.
though. But yeah, I mean they
fair.
are very, very similar, but there is differences, especially with the newer ones. I don't know. I was just throwing it out there. I think it's a turn-based RPG. It is such an
Yeah, no,
impactful one, right? It's an empire on its own. Like you could almost do it a whole Pillars of Pokemon. I don't think we ever would, but you could because there's so many of them. So I was just tossing it out there. So we can say no to Pokemon. So what else is there?
I mean, I think that we're going to have to do
trading
like
factor.
Pillars of RPGs part 1, 2, 3, 4,
I mean,
7,
Nope.
12,
There's just
27.
four. So this is the episode. If it's not in the
That's
top
it.
4, it sucks. That's
And
the
this isn't
rules
even
we've
ARPGs
decided.
or TRPGs.
Hey, for all of our listeners, the opinions of Jake do not represent the podcast.
Remember, listeners, when we started this episode, he said he was already mad.
Yeah.
So I want to point that out.
I'm mad because you didn't put something on the list. What did we miss? Oh, Mario RPG. I was going to mention Mario RPG, but I know you guys won't hang.
We
with me.
have
No bother.
Final Fantasy.
Why-
Yeah,
we have
we
Legend
have
of
Chrono
Dragoon. We
Trigger.
have
But
the
it's
better
got
Chrono
real-time
Mario
Trigger was a
combat
better
and
Mario
stuff.
RPG.
All right. I'm going to propose because we got to get a list of 4 pillars. I'm going to propose that we
Yeah.
put at least one Sega RPG
Yes.
on this pillar.
I agree. I agree. I think Phantasy Star 4 should definitely be on a pillar, personally.
I'd
Okay.
be
You
okay
guys
with
can
that. What do you guys think?
I'm good with that.
I'm good with
Yeah.
that.
Hell yeah.
Wow.
I'm
Maybe
going
I
to
don't
make
have
the
to be
same
angry.
argument. We need one CRPG on this list.
We only have one CRPG.
I would nominate
No, we
Ultima
don't. We
for
have-
that one.
We have multiple of the CRPGs.
I think
I don't
Ultima
see
makes sense.
Hello.
That looks like a record. Is that a laser disc?
Look,
What is that?
it has 5 1/4-inch floppy disks, you
Wow.
Philistine.
But is it
Did
missing
you
a
go
floppy?
to the library
Yeah,
and check
it
that
has
out?
truly floppy disks.
It does. Yeah,
Hey, make
and
sure
it's
you
not,
return that to your local library, bud. They're
and
going
it's
to come
not,
after you for fines.
and it's not missing a disc.
He got to play all of his.
When it comes to CRPGs, I would take Ultima over Bard's Tale.
Ultimate.
Because
Yeah.
that Ultima,
No.
the franchise, Lord British is a thing, right? Richard Garrett.
Well,
is an
he's
institution.
kind
Well,
of
I
the
was-
father of CRPGs.
Yeah.
Before Sinistar came in with Ultima, I was thinking Wasteland, but Ultima did everything Wasteland did first. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love my Wasteland and my Fallout, and I love those games. Why do we not have Fallout on this list? Anyway,
Ultima
we
did
have
it
Ultima.
first, just
even
without
though
guns.
even though Bard's Tale is my favorite RPG and my favorite game, I am all in on saying Ultima 4 should be on the pillar.
Yeah,
Okay.
I am for that. I didn't come in thinking I was picking my favorite games. I came in thinking we were picking the most impactful for the genre,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
and for me, Ultima should be on that list.
Yep.
Yes, for sure. That's a hard one to argue.
Okay.
I
So
agree.
for the audio listeners, we have currently 3 of 4 pillars figured out: Chrono Trigger, Phantasy Star 4, Ultima 4.
We should throw
We got
Final
one more
Fantasy 4
left.
in there and we'll just call it the 3 of the 4.
Not
I kind
4.
of think there needs to be a Final Fantasy on the
Yeah,
list.
I think
I
I agree
mean-
with that.
But Chrono Trigger already had the Kefka laugh. We're good.
Listen, and I'm the guy that's going to die on the Final Fantasy 6 hill. However, we have Lunar in there. We have Legend of Dragoon. We have Baldur's Gate 2. I mean, Final Fantasy 6 is epic, but I almost feel like Chrono Trigger carries the torch for both of them, right? In my opinion, you guys can either fight me on that, and it feels like there needs to be a Final Fantasy on there because of Final Fantasy's love, its title in the
Impact
RPG realm.
on the
Right,
RPG
thank you. That's
world,
what I'm
right.
trying to say. But I mean, Dragon's Quest. I mean, Breath of Fire. There's things on here. I think Final Fantasy is just it is the Kim Kardashian of RPGs. Everybody knows at least one Final Fantasy, and there's 16 of them, so it's
Yeah.
hard not to know one of them. But what if there's other options that I feel like, and I'm the
You know-
Final Fantasy guy, guys. Okay,
Yeah,
You're
Let's point this
right.
out.
You're right. And Chrono Trigger can also carry, as Wolf pointed out, can carry that Final Fantasy, just like it's doing with Earthbound. Chrono
Right.
Trigger's doing a lot of fucking work.
It's
here,
doing a lot of
guys.
work. But
It
It
really
is.
is. Like,
It's got some very broad shoulders, and it can hold its weight.
Yeah.
That's why I'm arguing for finding something else to put on a pillow.
Okay, but the other part of this is right now we have a SNES RPG, a Genesis one, a PC one. We have nothing like PlayStation era. So I'm almost
You're
leaning
right.
toward a PlayStation
That's
RPG.
why I would either go Lunar or Legend of Dragoon, and I would
I don't
almost
know
say
about Legend
Lunar
of
first.
Dragoon. Like I would
would
take
say
a Final
Lunar then.
Fantasy like I don't want to say 10, but
Well, 10 is PlayStation 2.
like 9, would you guys, I mean, we're not going to agree on 8 even though it does have a really great mini game. Triple Trihead.
There's a lot of fucking mini games that are fucking great, but the game within it is shit.
Dragon
Interesting,
Quest
it's better.
8. Dragon Quest
Okay.
8.
Quest 8. Yeah,
I've not played
could argue
this.
that.
Is that game really good? Like which one is
It
that?
is.
Listen, if
It is
Sinistar is
so
saying it's good and he is a big time PC gaming homer, that is almost enough to carry it to where it needs to go.
Sinstress and
that's
I,
fair.
somewhere I have the fucking Prima guide, and we were like finding all the chests out in the middle of like the wilderness. Like it was epic. We have so many hours in Dragon Quest 8. It's
No,
and
Okay.
one of the things I love about the Dragon Quest games is all of the creatures are like epically inventive. Like if you go play one
Yes.
and you're like the names are puns and clever,
Yeah.
and I mean
that's
yeah.
just the Dragon Warrior, Dragon Quest.
I know.
motif.
It's just
Been like that for years. But Oscar brings up a good point about Suikoden, though.
Yeah, I was actually going to say, can I make a point about Suikoden? I know I
Yeah.
kind of threw it in as like a
Absolutely.
throwaway character creation or character collection, blah, blah, blah. But that game was probably the first video game that made me cry because of the impact of the story.
Mhm.
And like it was that and Wild Arms were like the holdovers before Final Fantasy VII came out, right? Those were the ones like
Right.
it's not coming out to the fall. Play these over the summer. That's what the magazines were saying. And
Right.
I played Suikoden, absolutely fell in love with it. Asuka is saying Suikoden 2. I know a lot of people like Suikoden 2 better. I I personally think while the story is more grandiose, it's littered with typos and mistranslations. And I know that's a localization issue, not so much the game's fault in general. But you don't have what Suikoden 2 is without Suikoden 1, especially the amount of recurring characters from the first one that show up again in the second one and later entries. Like I think Flick and Victor occur in a bunch of them. But it's got this story of like, you know, usually you're some nobody kid in an RPG that's like just this adventure is dumped in your lap. And in this one, you're a general's kid, like you're kind of a somebody, right? And you disagree with what's going on with the Empire and you go against them because you disagree with what your dad is doing.
So it's
Like-
Final Fantasy IV.
But kind of, but not really. But then
So Final Fantasy IV did it
has
first.
3 styles of combat. It has no grinding, not really, because you can't grind in this game.
Right.
Okay.
Your experience when you're fighting the same monsters over and over, you start getting less experience. The game is basically letting you know you're about where you need to be. Move on.
That's kinda
So
nice. That's a good feeling.
you can't
Earthbound
really
did that
grind
too, though.
yourself up.
Yeah.
Earthbound did that too,
Um,
though.
And then, you know, there's just like there's even a secret way to resurrect the character that you lose.
Wait, permadeath?
Yes, there is a permadeath in this, much like Eris and Phantasy Star 2 did.
All
This
right.
does it too.
Foxborough.
I don't know.
And
Foxglove?
it's not one of the and the what I love is it's a localized story. It's not some story that's grandiose, world spanning. It's this
Okay.
country. Right?
Okay.
It's literally just this country. And you hear tales of things that happened in the neighboring countries, but you don't really participate in those. And some of that turns up in later games.
Okay. So you're making an argument for Suikoden 2 over Dragon Quest 8.
No, he's
I'm
saying
making an
Suikoden
argument for
1.
Suikoden 1.
Yeah,
Suikoden
yeah.
Okay.
1 over
Okay.
Dragon's Quest or a Final Fantasy. Gosh, are we going to make a 4 pillars and not mention the 2 largest franchises?
Yeah, we might get run out on a rail, guys.
You
This
know,
might be the end of the podcast.
I might have to stop
I
telling. I
still
might have to
think-
stop saying we're Retro Games Podcast.
I still think that Chrono
We got
Trigger.
Fantasy Star and Ultima 4.
carries-
How are you going to say we're
Right.
not retro?
Right. I mean, Chrono Trigger carries the Earthbounds, the Final Fantasies on the Super Nintendo. It's hard because you got 4, and I mean, there's literally stuff we haven't even discussed. Heroes of Might
As-
and Magic and things like that. I mean, there's so
Yeah,
much
Heroes
stuff
of Might
out
and Magic,
there.
another one.
As
Something is going to get
Asuka-
abandoned.
As Asuka points out, should just say Square Enix, honestly.
I mean, yeah, that's fair.
No, because they're
Because I'm
different.
thinking more of a representant. I mean, they
Don't
I'm
you
thinking
lump
of a
Secret of
more
Mana
yeah,
in with
'cause
this
Enix
list? That
has
game
the
doesn't belong
Dragon's
here.
Quest and Square had the Final Fantasies, and now they're married together, and it seems like a really awkward marriage. But I've never played Suikoden, and I've wanted to because it's this. I'm like Wolf. It's one that I've had on my list to play for most of my life. Dragon's Quest 8, Sinister, honestly, is kind of the nail that keeps getting driven into that coffin for me wanting to play it, because if he loves it that much for a person that doesn't, I mean, he loves Earthbound.
Not
and I
Final
played it with
Fantasy 8,
him.
Dragon Quest 8.
Sorry,
Dragon
Did
Quest
I say
8.
Final
I was like,
Fantasy 8?
Don't
Game
fucking
is
put me
fucking
behind
trash.
Final Fantasy 8.
Yeah.
I mean, if you guys don't think Suikoden should be on the list, I'm cool with that. I just wanted to argue my case as
No,
like,
I don't.
I think it's a valid point.
I don't
you
have
were
enough
because Sinistar
info.
was saying we didn't have anything about a PlayStation game, and so I
Yeah,
wanted to
that
throw
was me,
Suikoden
yeah.
in there.
Well, and that's why I went.
that's
Even
where I
though
was.
it's PS2, that's why I went Dragon Quest 8, because it's PS2.
Still Sony.
But I don't know Suikoden well enough to argue against it.
I know enough people that love this game, like with every last, like as much as I love Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy VI, like more so. So there's very few people, like Wolf being one of them, obviously fighting for it so vehemently. I don't know anybody that's like, Suikoden. It's fine. I have not met a soul that has been like that. I've met more people that hate Final Fantasy VI than I do people that don't like Suikoden. So
I don't have enough
that's
to
kinda
argue
where my head's
against
on.
it, and so I love Dragon Quest VIII. I will be sad if it doesn't make the list of pillars, but I also don't know Suikoden, and maybe it's a better pillar.
I think the way I'm going to look at this one, I think I'm okay with Final Fantasy not being on one of the four, because you guys are right. Like,
We're gonna die.
sucks. We're gonna die.
We're not gonna die.
We're gonna get Luigi. I'm sorry.
No, but-
Mario RPG's
not-
not
okay,
here. Luigi's gonna
my-
come after us.
How is the guy that plays
But-
Final Fantasy
Here I
all the
am.
time saying to keep it
Hold
off
on.
there because we have better shit on there?
I'm trying to
Here's
agree with
where
you
I am
fuckers.
regarding
Hold on.
Final Fantasy, and I'm gonna make you feel a little bit better about us not having it
Okay.
on the list, Jake.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy was the game franchise that would take what other major RPGs were doing and try to improve on that.
Ultima.
It's not the most common thing that Final Fantasy was first to the table with something.
Right.
It was
Just use
they
D&D rules.
they
I don't
would
know about
often
that.
be best at the table with something.
Okay.
It's much like you used to hear that, and I don't hear this anymore, but once upon a time you used to hear, the US, as far as inventiveness goes, they were the great inventor, and Japan was the great
Innovator. Right?
Innovator. Yeah.
Innovation
like
on
they would-
invention.
they would basically drastically improve on something that was made in the West. And I feel like that's kind of what Final Fantasy is they'd take something that somebody else made and just be like, it's salt and pepper, some cayenne, like that.
Yeah. Spiced it
They
up.
took
Yeah,
the
yeah.
recipe and improved it, right?
Right.
Yep.
And there's
Okay.
nothing wrong with that. But I think Chrono Trigger did all that and brought new shit to the table.
Yes.
And made it in, like, my opinion, the
Digestible.
perfect length.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was
Chrono
very
Trigger
digestible.
stays. I'm
Yeah,
not
Chrono
saying
Trigger
remove it.
can
Chrono
be-
Trigger.
15 hours, Chrono Trigger can be 300 hours, depending on how much you want to give to that game. Because it
Yeah.
allows for both of those legs.
New Game
Yeah.
Plus. Yeah. Okay. So
It's like
I'm fine with
18
Final
or
Fantasy.
16
Final Fantasy
different
not being
endings.
here. Yeah, for the endings, and I think I'd like us to stick with. Well, we have 16-bit generation really well covered. We also have Ultima, which is older.
Yeah.
We need a slightly newer retro title. So PlayStation,
And-
PlayStation 2. So Dragon.
and
So
I-
here's let me finish real quick, and then you guys can talk.
Yeah.
I like the idea of Dragon's Quest 8 because that is also a huge franchise, but also Wolf is starting to sell me on Suikoden. I think I would look at it if we could look at it from the gameplay perspective. Of the four pillars, do we have a diverse enough amount of gameplay amongst the four? That's what I'm thinking.
Yes.
So I'll let you guys go.
I think so.
And you're 100% right, because really Dragon Quest, even Dragon Quest 8, when you're talking like world exploration, it's free form, free flowing, that third person cell shading. But when it comes to battle scenes, it's a Final Fantasy game.
Right. Or a Chrono Trigger
Well,
or a
it's first
Phantasy
person.
Star 4, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I like I said, I don't know enough about Suikoden to argue against it. Like, I'll be sad if Dragon Quest 8 isn't there, but
So
if Suikoden is a better option,
Suikoden had the base combat, which was 6 characters instead of the usual 4 or 5, 3 to 5. They actually gave you 6 slots. And again, there's 108 characters to find in the game. Not all of them playable, but most of them are actually combat playable. I think you can play as like over 70 of them in combat.
Really?
So you get to really pick and choose who you want to take with you.
Yeah.
And then
you're
there's
not
like
selling this for Jake.
some of them played, extraordinarily unique in the game, whereas others, there's like 4 characters, I think, that are like all siblings or fellow students or something. So they all play very similarly. But yeah, like there's just so many characters. When you find all these characters, they don't just add party members you can play as, they add different shops and things you can do in your castle. So
Okay.
you unlock the ability to improve weapons and armor. You unlock the ability to make food when you get the chefs, and you can make higher tier food when you find his students. there's the 3 types of combat, like I said. So there's the base combat, there's the big 1,000-person army combats, and then the one-on-one combat that's it's basically rock, paper, scissors, but it is a third type of combat. And they try to use those sparingly, but when they use them, it's impactful. So while it's like you're playing rock, paper, scissors, you're really fighting your character's father, right? Like, so it's a big moment.
Okay.
And you kind of have to judge what the other one's going to do and try to counteract it.
I'm good to say Suikoden should be one
Yeah,
of these.
I
I'm
think
good.
so. I have one
I'm
fun
in
question then.
agreement.
With that many characters, do they all have story, or are they all just generic cookie cutter? Or is there actually story between each of those characters? No, I don't imagine a lot.
There's little bits of story for characters here and there. Multiple characters do die, but only one of them from your playable characters dies.
Okay.
Some of the characters you collect are villains. Like sometimes villains you've been fighting for most of the game.
Yeah.
You can get access to them to join your army.
Mages,
get-
what?
Yeah, right. Chrono Trigger did it first.
Some of them
The way
some
you
of them
describe this,
are silly tertiary characters that I know that I'm referring to the second one here, but the second one has a raccoon and a bear you can recruit. Like
Nothing more
that
Japanese than
alone.
that.
But I mean, you're describing basically what Shining Force 2 does as well, where it's like there's a bunch of recruitable characters, but Shining Force doesn't give you a whole lot of plot for the characters. There's a little bit for some of them, but a lot of them are just kind of just random. Like you have a Phoenix, you have a guy who's immortal for some reason, right? But yeah, Suikoden sounds, I think,
There's
definitely
definitely
a
a
unique
main
gameplay was. Yeah.
collection of characters that have a lot
Right.
more story than the rest, and it's probably centered around like I want to say about 20, give or take.
Okay.
And even one of them, like this is, I don't want to spoil anything because none of you have played through Suikoden, but there's a character, like there's so many plot twists and characters you absolutely love that you're just like, what? That's what was going on with that character? Like
Okay.
it just sideswipes you with things. It does everything that Final Fantasy does in that regard, but it also really mixes it up. Like Final Fantasy is the great mixer, and this mixed that up as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
All right.
I'm good
I'm
with
in.
Suikoden.
I'm in.
Okay. All right. So
You son of a bitch, I'm in.
Suikoden, the Suikoden pillar is holding up Dragon Quest VIII.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
well, I mean, without
And the
honestly,
Lunars,
without Dragon Quest and Final
Dragon-
Fantasy, we wouldn't have Suikoden. Suikoden
Right.
was inspired by those a lot.
Yeah.
But I like that the stakes feel so different. It's not some world-ending thing. It's family turmoil. It's political
Yeah.
turmoil in your country, and that's it.
I will say one of my favorite bits of like Witcher 3, for example, was the DLC because it wasn't a universe-ending story. It was a more local Witcher-style story. I like the local stories; those are impactful. Tactics, Final Fantasy
Yeah.
Tactics, same thing. You're not fighting a great evil. Or at least I don't remember you are. It's mostly politics and families and houses. I like those stories a lot, and we don't have that.
The
on
only thing you're
list.
fighting in Final Fantasy Tactics is trying to have a good time.
Look, you go back to glazing Final Fantasy X and falling asleep like me, okay?
I will.
All right, so for our audio listeners, I think here's our 4 pillars of RPGs, turn-based RPGs: Chrono Trigger, Phantasy Star 4, Ultima 4, and Suikoden. Do we have any
yeah.
second guesses on any of these, or we think they're pretty solid?
I think that's a strong foundation for RPGs. I think those pillars hold up
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff that we discussed in this episode.
Okay.
I'm just going to say pressbtocancel.com. Come to our Discord. Tell us how we're wrong.
Yeah.
Shit on
No,
our fact that the
I-
Final Fantasy guy didn't put a Final Fantasy on a pillar.
I
Yeah, I'm
can
really shocked.
honestly
Argued against it.
say that these are all games that RPG players should play.
Agreed.
I agree.
Okay.
Agreed.
I absolutely agree.
Absolutely.
All right.
I mean, like Wolf said, we're not discussing our favorites, right? We're discussing
No.
what we would
Right.
give
I'm
somebody
trying to
that is like
be
never played these
objective
before.
here.
Please give me something different to try.
All right.
My
Like, go get
favorite game of all time is an RPG, and it's not a pillar.
go to your local library and pick up the Laserdisc for Bard's Tale and play that on your CRTV.
I don't know. I still
I-
feel a little guilty not putting Final Fantasy VI on here, but again, it's not my list. It is, and it's not the best list.
No,
it's just impactful list of all of us, right?
If
So-
I weren't trying to be so objective, I think it's hilarious that I have Suikoden back here. I didn't even plan it that way. Look at him throwing salt and pepper. What the fuck? How did this?
he's seasoning it for the Western audience.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't think of that either. Wow. All right, go me.
Wolf is
Um,
the Simpsons. He's Nostradamus.
What was I gonna? Oh yeah, if I weren't being so objective, I would have pushed for Final Fantasy VI, and I probably would have
Yeah.
pushed for Lunar instead of Suikoden. But
Yeah.
like, I think Suikoden is a better, like, more people will like this than Lunar. More people
Okay.
will like this than Final Fantasy. Like, that's what kind of where I'm at.
All right. So, I mean, according to Press B, Chrono Trigger, Phantasy Star 4, Ultima 4, Suikoden are your 4 pillars of turn-based RPGs. We have to do another episode of this where we talk about other kinds of RPGs. I would love to do one where we talk about more action-y RPGs. Charles, right? That would be a good one. I wouldn't mind doing a turn-based one, or not a turn-based one, a tactics one, maybe. I don't know.
I think it would be good to do some by era as well, right?
Yeah,
Pick
that
pick
too.
an era and yeah, or by like bit size, right? Like
Right.
8-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit,
Right.
you know.
Really
Yeah.
getting to the nitty gritty.
Yep.
Or one with
Now,
more
real quick-
more recent games. So
Yeah.
go ahead, Wolf.
For those of you who are still here, I want to throw a quick question at the rest of you guys. What's your favorite RPG franchise as a whole?
Are you asking the 4 of us or just the people? in
Yes.
chat?
Well,
Oh,
I would love to hear this answer from our audience too, but I'm asking you guys, what's your answer here?
Turn-based or just in general?
Just in general, but I'm
Jesus,
curious.
That spreads that out a little bit.
Fine, let's
Yeah.
stick with turn-based since that's the
Okay.
subject matter. Let's do that.
I was gonna say,
okay.
I like Final Fantasy. I've played all of them. I love playing them. There's ones that I absolutely hate. I feel like a lot of my identity falls in the Final Fantasy timeline, honestly, and I just glom to that. And I think it's a great franchise. They've nailed them out of the park. They have fucking dropped the ball when the game was on the line. They've done it all, and they continue to do it. And Final Fantasy 14 is more addictive than crack cocaine. So I can't play it, or I'd lose my life in it.
Yeah, pretty
You
much.
might think I would go with this one because there are 4 games in this franchise, but I will go with Ultima.
I'm probably
I was
leaning
towards... expecting Bard's Tale from you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you're
would
not
lean
wrong.
probably Final Fantasy as well, just for like I'm with Chard, especially some of the newer ones. Like 14 was really really great for my time with it. It really gets good after 200 hours, and I mean that. It really does. But
The
like
game really
Yes,
opens
the
up.
newest one that they have.
Phantasy Star 6 or Final Fantasy 6 is epic to me. I do like the original 7. I do like 4 to a degree. I like 5 a lot with the job system. I love the job system, and I
5
like
is
tactics.
awesome.
There's a lot of
5's
great
a
stuff.
quiet
I even like Mystic
That's
Quest
asleep.
for the music, right? So, and the original Final Fantasy was if it wasn't the first RPG I played as a kid, it was the second, and that had also had the job system, and the ways to play that is iconic to me. Like honestly, I should have argued harder for Final Fantasy 1 to be on this list. So for me, that's the franchise. It's hard to
the
beat.
game is-
It's hard to beat.
It's too broken to be on the list, though. The game is so
Yeah,
broken.
it's so good though.
And then-
Anyway,
I mean,
And
I might also as a close runner up. I know it's only kind of turn based because of the VAX system, but Fallout.
that's
VATS, yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. But Fallout. Wait,
That's fair.
Wasteland / Fallout, because they're really kind of
Yeah.
one franchise.
Fallout 1
Yeah.
and 2.
all right. I'm gonna, in true werewolf fashion, I'm gonna come way out of left field here. Wild Arms.
He's all Peakman. What?
Yeah.
We didn't even mention it, but Wild Arms.
yeah,
You did. You dropped it a couple times.
That first one,
I mention
the
it?
opening is real
Yeah.
good. The music in that game is really, really fantastic. But
Well, Arms
Yeah,
is
when
another
we-
one I'd like to play.
When we get to action RPGs, expect a huge fight over Zelda, folks.
And Dark Souls. Lots of Dark Souls.
Elder Scrolls, that will be a bloody episode.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right,
I think we'll
guys.
be
It'll have
more angry after that than this episode.
Yeah.
It'll have
I
to
think
be
that one will have heated discussion, truly heated discussion.
It'll have to be the
Absolutely.
26 pillars of RPGs.
Well,
We'll
you
be-
know that
yeah.
Diablo's an action RPG, right? So Diablo, Path of Exile, all those great games, they go in there too. There's arguments there. But anyway. All right, guys, it's been a long episode, so I'm going to rush it a little bit at the end, but we are Press B to Cancel. You can find us anywhere you listen to your podcasts. If there's something you listen to that's, we're not there, like your goddamn Samsung fridge, and they don't have an app for us, you let me know, and I'll email Samsung for you to get us on your
go.
fridge, because that's important to me.
Be on my fridge.
Otherwise, you can watch us over at see our faces over on YouTube. At Press B to Cancel. We are part of the SuperPod Network of podcasts. So if you don't like our opinions on games, which I don't blame you, you can go check out their network of podcasts. There's other great video game podcasts over there. I keep shutting on 3DO because I have never played the 3DO, but I like Bill and Thrax's podcast on 3DO. Aaron's been doing his episodes with SuperPod Saga, of course, which has been a good time. And Nev with Gaming Together has been doing a lot of great stuff lately too. Like a lot of great podcasts. Go check out superpodnetwork.com. Did I get that right? Shit. I think I got that right.
Yeah.
SuperPodNetwork.com.
Yes.
I did
Yes,
get it
you
right.
got it right.
Okay,
It's-
great.
It's
But,
.com.
But
Always yell at me about it.
It's .com.
Thank
it's
you.
.com.
Thank you, Wolf. Wolf
Yeah, we
got it.
have to buy that one. If you're listening to this episode, please drop us a review. I'm thinking of incentives for people to leave reviews because I would like to get more exposure to Press B. As much as we've grown over the last few months, I want to keep going up. If you're watching us on YouTube, I appreciate if you could drop us a subscribe. It's free, or drop us a like. Drop us a dislike. I won't judge. It's okay. But some kind of
I will.
engagement would be appreciated. Or, like Chard said, feel free to drop into our Discord, pressbtocancel.com. No. Yes, pressbtocancel.com has a link to our Discord. And you can hit us up on the channels and tell us your favorite franchise, RPGs, and how we are wrong, because I want to know. I want to know how wrong we are, because I think we're wrong a lot on our episodes.
This is a great episode.
Yeah, this was
In terms of the
this was a
games we
great
picked.
episode.
But yeah. Anyway, this has
Yeah.
been Press B to Cancel. Everybody have a great, wonderful week.